Welcome to the Millennial Lawyer Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Millennial Lawyer Podcast with Mark Shirian. My name is Kevin Rosenquist, and thank you so much for being here. And today for our first episode, we actually have a special guest as well. Sanford Rubenstein is with us. Mark, can you introduce the relationship that you guys have and talk about how Sanford has influenced your career?
Sure. So first of all, Sandy, thank you so much for being here today on my first episode of the Millennial Lawyer Podcast.
I want to say it's a pleasure to be your first guest, and I hope your first show is a smash success.
Oh, yeah. It's going to be huge.
Sure will be. So Sandy and I met, it was an evening in June of 2019. I was walking up Park Avenue, and I had made a right onto 64th and Park. And I saw Sandy speaking to a couple outside of a restaurant that was formerly Omar's. I don't know if you remember Omar's.
Of course.
And, I approached him and I introduced myself and I told him that I have my own law firm and I was just starting out and I'd love to meet up with him at a later time. And he gave me his card and I called him the next day and he's like, you know what, why don't we meet up at the place that I met you at for dinner tonight? So we went out and I recall I paid for dinner that night.
Picked up the check.
And ever since then, we've had a great relationship. We talk almost daily about cases that we're working on and about strategy. And it's been the greatest thing to happen to my career, having a mentor as esteemed and established as Sandy Rubenstein. So,
and we've had great success. My law firm, Rubenstein, is very, very busy. And we get cases that we say, you know what, if we were young, aggressive lawyers, we'd take it. But we're so busy with the cases we're handling now, we don't. So I saw the relationship with Mark as an opportunity to take those cases, which we might not have taken, and see what we can do with them. Well, I got to tell you something. We get amazing results. There was a case that we settled for $1.5 million that my firm might have passed on because Mark and I worked together on the case and basically got a settlement that we never expected to get because at the end of the day, after the preliminary proceedings were done on the case, it was clear that there was liability and damages.
So I guess the real question is who paid for dinner after that one?
Mark's been paying for all the dinners.
That's awesome. Mark, what does mentorship mean to you?
in this business, in the legal business, in this practice, so many different things come up. And it's very important to get things out of your system. You're going to see things as a young lawyer. You're going to see things that it's going to be for the first time. And it might be scary. It might be a little uncomfortable. And having a mentor, a seasoned mentor who's been around the block, who's seen almost everything, it's meant a lot to my career because I know that anything that comes across my way, I could speak to Mr. Rubenstein about. He has an opinion on, and it helps me in my practice because there's nothing that comes across my way that he hasn't seen. So it's very important for a young lawyer, even if someone like me who's out on their own, to have someone maybe not in-house, but a more seasoned attorney to give advice and to give instruction.
What kind of key moments from your career would you say that might have been like lessons from, landmark cases, things that maybe you grew professionally, grew personally, something that really sticks out?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned is not to judge clients and cases at first. Sometimes you get a case and you think it's the greatest case in the world and it turns out that it's not. Sometimes clients come in and it doesn't sound like such a great case, but it turns out that it very much is a meritorious case. So one thing that I've learned that's been very important is when I get a call, not to prejudge or not be so quick to judge, rather, on the merits of the case and to examine and to do as much research as possible on a case because you really never know, as Sandy said.
Right.
A case can be a 7-8 figure case or something else. So being very diligent with respect to how you're evaluating a case.
Sandy, is there anything, you've had a long and storied career. Was there any one case that you can go back to kind of that sparked something in you, maybe a turning point in your career or something that you always kind of mentally go back to?
Well, absolutely. It was the Abilene police torture case where a Haitian immigrant was tortured by the police in a bathroom of a police station that basically put my name on the map as a nationally prominent trial lawyer. I just got back from a convention in Brazil where I addressed a group of lawyers and judges. One of the things that we're very lucky about here in America is that we have the jury system, because the jury system gives an opportunity for everyone in the public to level the playing field and get an opportunity to get damages in cases that they're entitled to. For example, we just finished a case in my office where the jury came back with a $90 million verdict. Now, people might say $90 million. Well, this man lost his arm and his leg in a train accident. The train operator at the deposition testified, oh, yeah, I saw a pile of garbage on the tracks, so I didn't slow down. Well, the fact of the matter is that pile of garbage was a man who fell on the tracks and suffers for the rest of his life. Now, that jury system really makes a difference because this jury came back with a verdict, $90 million. The appellate division of appeals court will, of course, have to look at it to see if it's excessive. But this case is a case which demonstrates the importance of the jury system. And that's why we're very lucky in this country, particularly in this state, to have a jury system in personal injury cases.
Have you guys worked together on any impactful cases that kind of stick out to you?
Well, we're doing one case now together in which a young adolescent basketball star died after he jumped into the river because his friends dared him to do that because the coach who was supposed to be with him, because his mother wouldn't let him go there unless the coach went with him, wasn't there, didn't show up. This is a case that demonstrates, particularly to other members of the educational establishment, that if you don't do what you promise a parent you will do, you will get sued for damages and it will be publicized so that the public will know your wrongdoing, so it doesn't happen to anyone else.
Wow, that's a crazy story.
We were the first attorneys to bring a case under the general business against gun manufacturers. We represent a victim of the April 2022 subway shooting. And in that case, a Glock gun was used for that attack. And Sanford's office got the client had reached out to his office. We weren't sure if it was a case. And I looked into it and I told Sandy that, you know what, if we can find out the manufacturer of this gun, we might have a case against the gun manufacturer based on the new law. It was actually the last law that Andrew Cuomo signed before he resigned that holds gun manufacturers accountable for their negligent marketing and distribution of their guns. And from what I understand, we were the first ones to file suit under this new law. The case is still stayed because there have been appeals on the constitutionality of this law. Mm-hmm. But that still is, I think, if this can get through the Second Circuit, this will be a monumental case because for the first time in a long time, you can now hold gun manufacturers accountable for gun violence if you are a victim of gun violence, for their negligent and reckless marketing and distribution of it.
And one of the things that's important is how we use the opportunity we have in these difficult cases to make a point. Gun violence is a real problem in this city, in this country. Mm-hmm. And we try to hold gun manufacturers liable. And we hope the appellate division will rule in our favor so that we can proceed with this case is a very important concept. So we take those cases that other lawyers might not take, horrible damages, ruined a woman's life, but the fact of the matter is something has to be done. And the trial bar has an opportunity to make a real difference in this state and country.
Wow. That'll be interesting to keep up with because that could be very pivotal what you guys are doing right now with that. That's incredible. Sandy, did you have mentors as well when you were younger?
To tell you the truth, I learned from the seat of my pants. But one of the things I would tell trial lawyers is get into the courtroom, try your cases, learn from experience. Don't be afraid to try your cases. And the truth is, if you look at the statistics, 90% of the cases that settle after a jury is selected, and the defendant's afraid about getting a jury verdict in the case. So then they get real with you in terms of damages.
That makes sense. What does it mean to you to be a mentor?
Well, I think it's important that young lawyers not only try the case in the courtroom, but also try the case in the court of public opinion. I have known in our cases opportunities that we've had to try our case in the court of public opinion, particularly on issues which affect not just the victim that we're representing, but the general public.
You've been in this for a while. How has the legal industry changed over the years? I'm sure it's changed a lot, but what's kind of been the biggest impact? And in your opinion, what should lawyers focus on today? You mentioned going to trial, but what else should people focus on?
No, I think lawyers need to take cases that make a difference in terms of the public. Take a case that means a lot to your client, but also makes a difference in terms of the public's future with regard to the particular issue that we're dealing with. So I think lawyers should take cases, represent victims to the best of their ability, but particularly cases that have an effect on the public at large.
What do you think has there been any one change that you've seen that's really been kind of impactful?
The one thing that happened in our industry, particularly in auto cases, was the no-fault statute. And that means that you have to meet a certain threshold in order to be able to get damages for pain and suffering. We thought at that time, wow, the industry is really going to change now, because those cases in which people suffered but didn't suffer permanent damage can't be brought. So the truth of the matter is that changed to some degree the cases that we take, minor soft tissue injuries. You can't get damages for pain and suffering. But the other thing that happened that's really important is the verdicts that take place, which demonstrate how you can get damages in cases that might be difficult.
I've known lawyers over the years, or former lawyers over the years, that become disillusioned pretty young in their career and go completely in other directions, which has always fascinated me, because you spend so much time and money on schooling, and it's just they decide it's not for them. How do you guys both balance such, intense careers while still having a personal life and sort of keeping your head together?
Well, I got to tell you something. For me, becoming a trial lawyer was the greatest thing I ever did, because I love representing victims. I love trying to make a difference in society with the cases that we have. And it gives you an opportunity also to be a voice for those who don't have a voice. And I think that's a very special thing.
What about you, Mark?
The way I look at it is, you go to a doctor for healing. Doctors provide health, lawyers provide justice. Clients come to us. It's up to us to advocate for them, to make sure that the justice system is healing however they were violated. So that's how I look at it. It's important, to have a life outside of the law, so you're in the best possible shape to advocate at the highest level. That's very important to me. It's very easy to get burnt out. I've never met anyone with more energy than Sandy for his age. Regardless of his age, he has the energy of a 25-year-old. And I hope when I'm your age, I'm just as energetic and youthful. But
I wish I marked the same kind of career that I've had, and it ain't over yet. Look, at the end of the day, we not only get victims' damages, make a difference in the public, but we also have the opportunity to lobby the legislators who get to make the laws, so that if we believe that laws should be changed, or we believe that the legislature needs to enact laws to protect the public, we have a voice. And that's another very important voice in being a lawyer, the voice to lobby those who make the laws, to get the laws changed when necessary.
For any other millennial lawyers that are listening to this show, do you guys have any tips or tricks for sustaining longevity in this field?
Just keep doing it. I mean, at the end of the day, we can only represent those people who come to us to represent them. Once we get the cases, we run with them. And don't be afraid to try your cases. Don't be afraid to take the verdicts. Although most of the time, the case is going to settle either after a jury is picked or during trial. But don't be afraid to take your verdicts. This $90 million verdict we got 2 weeks ago, terrible case. Most lawyers wouldn't have taken it because it was a man who fell on the tracks. At the end of the day, take those cases to make a difference to the public. Now, those who operate trains, hopefully, will learn a lesson from this case.
I would say to meet as many people as you possibly can. It is so paramount. I miss the days pre-COVID when all I did was go to court every day, and I would meet other lawyers who still refer cases. You just meet as many people as you can, expand your network as much as you can, and let people know exactly what you do, because if something does come up, you'll be the first one that they think about. If there's any sort of issue in New York City, in Brooklyn especially, I know that Mr. Rubenstein's name is one of the first to come up. He's known for being an advocate and for fighting for justice. That's what he's known for. So I would say to meet as many people as you can.
How important do you think it is for other millennial lawyers to find a trusted mentor? Like, what is your experience as a mentee taught you?
I highly recommend it. It is such a great experience because you're not expected to know everything all at once. And this is a business. This is practice of law. It takes a long time to learn everything that you really need to learn. I'm still learning every day. The information that you get from a mentor is priceless. And it just speeds up your time as far as getting to know what you need to know to actually litigate these cases and to be a strong advocate for your client. So I highly recommend finding a mentor, even if it's not a mentor that practices the law that you practice. The ethic laws are the same. Laws are the same for all the lawyers. So that also whether it's an attorney that's in your practice area or within your state. I go to conferences and I meet lawyers from other states. I know lawyers that practice different areas of law, and you're always learning something. So someone who's been around the block who can, that you can learn a tremendous amount from, it's very important because it just speeds up the time that it will take for you to be an advocate.
Sandy, last question. You think you'll retire someday, or is that not even on your radar?
That's a dirty word. I don't think about it, really. I just keep going. I'm fortunate that my firm is very busy, very successful. I'm of counsel to the firm now, and we have a reputation in the city, state, country that we get results for our victims. And I wrote a book, The Outrageous Rubenstein, How a Media-Savvy Trial Lawyer Fights for Justice. And if you think about that title, you think of how important it is for lawyers to fight for justice for their clients, and how important it is that we have the system of justice we have in our country.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us on the Millennial Lawyer Podcast with Mark Shirian, and of course, special guest Sanford Rubenstein. If you'd like to get in touch with Mark, please visit ShirianPC.com and be sure to like and subscribe our channel and follow us for all sorts of great insights. Mark, Sanford, thanks so much for being here. Really good to see you guys.
Well, I thank Mark for having me as his first guest.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.